Dragi prijatelji, evo, izvinjam se za malo zakašnjenje, ali dok smo se organizovali, ovo je vanredni sastanak. Inače, počinje seminar prve subote u oktobru, gde će govoriti inženjer elektrotehnike. Dobit ćete sve podatke o tome koji veruje u etar, nikom nije smeo da kaže, a u nas ima poverenje, pa će onda da govori o etru. I onda treće subote ćemo gospodin Saša Načević da nam iznese kompletnu sve podatke, u stvari tehničke i sa primerom, i da nam objasni snimanje aure poli interferentnom kontrastnom kamerom gospodina Oldfielda iz Engleske. I tako da vam kažem da mi sad u ovoj istoj zgradi imamo dole laboratoriju koja ima 3 ključna aparata, ima mikrogramsku vagu, ima elektroencefalograf za merenje moždanih talasa i evo sad imamo i za merenje aure i treba nam još spektrofotometar. Onda smo opremljeni potpuno da kad neko umre vidimo kako se duša odvaja tela, koliko pada na vagi, koliko energetski ispušta emisiju i takođe da merimo to sve i preko promene aure i da vidimo kakve su funkcije mozga. Sve to možemo da radimo, to je u stvari laboratorije za psihofizička merenja. To ovako da se pohvalimo. A danas ćemo, dobili ste svi, pretpostavljam, kompletnu informaciju. Naša draga prijateljica iz SAD, ona je više sa Tibeta nego što je iz Engleske. Tamo je rođena, ali s obzirom da postoji reinkarnacija i da duša može da šeta i da roditelji u stvari pojma nemaju ništa o detetu. Jeste dete deo roditelja, emotivno, ne znam, spermatozoid, jajna ćelija, tako da emotivno dete je vezano za roditelje, ali potpuno drugačiji duh u detetu može da bude i u stvari detetu treba da bude ono koje roditelji upoznaju. Roditelji to u našoj kulturi ne rade, ali u tibetanskoj i hinduističkoj i tibetanskoj kulturi to je nešto normalno. Kad se dete rodi, roditelji se prvo čude da vide ko je došao među nama. Kod nas je dete svojina roditelja i do 6. godine njima se malo roditelji bave, nemoj da smetaš, idi u zabavište, pusti me na miru, imam važna posla, međutim do 6. godine što se uradi sa detetom, sve je urađeno. Tu se onda razviju kompletno neuralne mreže i to je ceo hardware je gotov. I tada od 3. do 6. godine se bude, to rade tibetanski učitelji, oni bude psihičke moći deteta do 6. godine. Posle toga, zato oni svi recimo lame, da je suprug gospođe Suzan je lama i sve lame koji su reinkarnirane, to su tulpuji, znači oni koji u stvari dođu na zemlju kao određena vrsta energije. Oni sebe ne smatraju subjektom, kao ja pa sad ne znam ime, ne, nego on je vrsta kosmičke energije sa određenim zadatkom u okviru univerzuma i svi oni recimo do 6. godine uče da čitaju misli, to je neko dobar dan, svi imaju telepatske sposobnosti jer to uče. To govorim kako je naše obrazovanje pravi ljude koji ne razumiju kosmos, nego moraju da čitaju astronomiju, a kosmos to smo mi sami. To je ono što nauče prvo deca, mala deca u istočnim kulturama, da tako kažem, ne samo u tibetanskoj i ne samo u hinduističkoj, nego takođe i u mazdaističkoj, to je Ahur Mazda, Zoroaster, znači isto tako u Iranu i tako dalje. Pa takođe u smislu borilačke veštine i njihove duhovnosti i u zen budizmu i šintoizmu japanskom. Eto, tako je, danas će Suzan, problem je što prevod ako bi bio, ostali bi do 6 sati uveče. Ja se nadam da govorit će vrlo polako i da ćete ipak moći da razumete šta govori na engleskom, a ako ne, onda ćemo da, evo tu je naša Brankica i tu sam ja, pa ćemo onda neke delove koji su najzanimljiviji da prevedemo. Dear Suzan, please, it is a great honor for us that you joined to this seminar for the ether physics. So we trust God that He created ether, luminiferous ether. So everything is made of light. You, also our public, and me too. So please, have a lecture.
Good afternoon and thank you. Thank you for coming today. Today I'm going to be describing to you some of the things that I have been forced to research and have found quite by accident in my various trips to Bosnia, because it was in 2016, in October 2016, that I had the great fortune to bump into Sam Osmanagic at a conference in South India, where he saw my previous movie, another of my movies, The Circle of Immortality, that I made in a little bit different, of a different way than an ordinary movie. Because really, honestly, I am going to tell you with all honesty that I am not really a filmmaker, but I'm a creative, innovative artist, and making movies is just one of the methods that I'm using in order to expose universal truth. And how do I do that? How do you do that in a movie? Well, let's go on. So, Sam invited me to come to Bosnia, and so what did I need to do? Apart from coming to Bosnia, learning about the place and taking visuals of its various aspects, I knew that I would need to create a specific shape, a picture that would express the meaning of the place within it, so that I could embed into the timeline of the movie, not into the surface visuals, not into the music, not into the narration, that's just superficial stuff. Embed a rhythm deeply into the timeline of the movie, so that the energy of what I had discovered in Bosnia would be infused into the movie. So, any of you who don't speak English, it doesn't matter, because this is designed as a transmission. Like I said, the visuals are just surface, music is just surface, narration is just surface. So here we go. I called this kind of filmmaking, I have come to call rather, this kind of filmmaking, kaleidoscopic filmmaking. We all know what a kaleidoscope is. It's something that moves and moves and moves and moves, just like our transient world that we live in is just changing and changing and changing and moving and moving. So this all started a long time ago now, when I had the greatest of fortunes to meet His Eminence Tribute Rinpoche and to be accepted as his disciple. He's one of the teachers of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he's passed away many years ago now, in 2007. But I had the great fortune to sit at his feet for many years in Nepal, where I got the transmissions of the highest tantric yogas of Tibetan Buddhism, and got to study under him, but not just study under him intellectually, but to receive direct transmission from him, which is a little bit different to just studying the ABC of the philosophy. So how did I get even into the film-making world? I'm not a filmmaker, I told you, but because of my British accent, people wanted me to come and do the narration for their movies. So I was invited to the film studios and I recited the narrations. Then there's some trouble with the editing, so then they asked me to help with that too. I got to sit with editors for hours and hours. I got to learn how to cut up and, choose the visuals and this and that. So it was really just a process of learning by doing. And this came to me producing a film called The Circle of Immortality between 2005 and 2008. And that's the movie that Sam saw in India in 2016. And what had I done in this movie? I had created an art piece called The Circle of Immortality. Again, we could talk 1 hour on that, so I don't even start. You can see it here, this image in the corner. There's a mirror, there's this spiral, and actually I've embedded the meaning of the 5 elements into this piece, The Circle of Immortality, because the 5 elements are absolutely core to the highest tantric yogas of Tibetan Buddhism. On the one side we have the 5 elements, on the one side we have the 5 mental aspects. And these two, male and female, are absolutely entwined as one. Yet they appear as two, just like in our relative world. One from one comes two. I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a moment. So how do I do this? How do I make my films? Like I said, the surface, the visuals, the narration, the sound, the music, all of that is just surface. Yeah, it's pretty, it's nice, it looks good and all of that. But using the natural tools available to any filmmaker, visuals, so visuals are corresponding to light. Music is corresponding to sound. Here we have the light, the form, male. Here we have the music, the sound, female, coming from one, becoming two, from an absolute reality into a relative reality. So using the visuals that express the meaning of the symbols that have already been identified in one of my pictures, I'm coming on to that in a minute, that has multiple shapes encoded within it that are skillfully placed along the timeline using specific increments of time. The key word here is time. Music, the sound, different types of music that are skillfully placed upon the timeline in order to embed another rhythm, we come back to time, into the movie, again using specific increments of time. The narration comes to perception, because it's perception that is perceiving this sound and this light and translating it into something intelligent. So the narration is a narrative that does not arouse too much intellectual attention. I don't want people thinking too much, what does that mean? I want people just to be and relax and absorb the transfer of the energy from the movie to their heart essence. But naturally, the narration should stir a deeper level of understanding within the viewer. Timing. This is the key. See, I put in brackets here, key. The dimensional knitting together of all these various layers, thus creating a broader dimensional vision, as well as transmitting the meaning directly to the viewer without him or her needing to intellectually understand it. So here, just some background. You know, I'm just going to show you a few slides before I show the movie because I want you to understand where I'm coming from here. So just basically, I'm coming from the world of the highest tantric yogas. You may be coming from science or from philosophy or from whatever else, but you're going to find it's the same thing. We always find 3 at the beginning, 3 fundamental layers. So in the octave of harmonic resonance that we are appearing in here, this bandwidth, as human beings, we are in a sense locked inside a relative matrix by a relationship of 3 aspects of itself to itself. Duality manifests from unity existing in a higher dimension that emerges into a lower one in order to manifest. In each case, number 1 is existing in a higher dimensional state and is the basis of both the existence of and integration of 2 and 3. So here we have a little picture here. Yeah? So really what we're talking about is just different aspects of the same thing appearing in different octaves of harmonic resonance. So let's start from the very beginning. It's actually stupid and impossible to give a name to 0. But just for the sake of having some way to relate to it, we'll call it luminous emptiness. Light, which is existing in a state of emptiness. Hello, what does that mean? Emptiness with light, hello, that is a paradox in itself. Anyway, 0 is a paradox. So let's leave that there. But then out of that we have an essential state, again, the first 3 appearing aspects as awareness and clarity and wisdom. Again, I'm coming from the highest yogic traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, but you can translate it into your own tradition. When we drop down into the next octave, we find awareness becomes perception. Awareness is something that is not like necessarily like pointing at this and that, it just is. Perception, on the other hand, is perceiving. That's that this is that, this is this, this is that, this is this, this is that. Clarity, again, this is also at an essential state. Wisdom is also at an essential state. These are ephemeral things that we can't really describe intellectually. But clarity becomes light. Wisdom becomes sound. Now we have another three things that are working together in a relative aspect. And then we come even further into our manifest world, where we see that this awareness and perception turns into the scalar, longitudinal waves. The clarity, the light, turns into particles. This is now material, solid, hard, form. We can see, we can touch. The senses now come into operation. And the electromagnetic Hertzian waves, of course, which are like the sound waves. So this is our manifest world. So as the perceptive quality of awareness arises from its purest, inherent, essential state, it dynamically interacts with its inherent qualities, which is embedded in it, cannot be separated from it, of sound, wisdom, and light clarity, so it descends into materiality through octaves of harmonic resonance. So propelling from one dimension, I'm sticking very closely to my slides here, otherwise I might go off track. So propelling from one dimension octave to another causes a large amount of energy to arise, which is injected into the dimension below it in order to fuel its manifestation. So the duality of the following stage manifests from a living, essential state of being, or force existing in a perfect unity in a higher dimension. It's never not in the higher dimension. It's always on. Emerging within a lower one that anchors all existence and provides integration to the other two, because they are not fundamentally separate from it, but can only appear in a dimension of lower frequency. So like a note or any sound is one such explosion of energy. A color or shape is another such explosion of energy. And time is another. So here again, this is another little scribble thing. Don't look at the size, the width, this is smaller, this is larger. That doesn't matter, that's superfluous. Movement between the dimensions through vortices, again we see our 1 to 10 as I mentioned before. And you can see how boom, 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 we're sort of increasing this level of materiality as it falls through the octaves of harmonic resonance. So aspects of that same fundamental essential state appearing differently within varying octaves of harmonic resonance. Now this slide is perhaps the most important of all the slides. And I could talk to you for hours just about this Pythagorean tetrad, which is probably the most brilliant thing that was ever brought into existence by our dear Pythagoras back in the day. So here I've made a little chart because you can see that the shapes that we find inside these 10 dots, we will find at the beginning the tetrahedron, of course, and inside we will find, two-dimensionally we find hexagon, but a hexagon is also manifesting as cube. And inside the cube we will find double tetrahedron, and inside the double tetrahedron, nested inside, we will find the octahedron, and then inside the octahedron, again we will find the cube, and again we will find the double tetrahedron, and again we'll find the octahedron, and again we'll find the cube, again we'll find the ad infinitum. Brilliant. So, just an introduction to octaves of harmonic resonance for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about when I say octaves of harmonic resonance. So simplistically, one octave of a major scale is 7 whole notes plus 1 equals 8. And the 8th note is the same as the first note. One octave also has 12 semitones culminating as a 13th, as the same as the first note. So we can talk about a sort of tonal octave and a semitonal octave. Although that's not strictly true because the octave major scale is not, strictly speaking, 7 tones. There are some anomalies here. In the major scale, it's necessary to introduce 2 additional concentrations of resonance at the points of vibrational retardation between notes mi, fa, double-T do to make it harmonious. 8 plus 2 additional notes equals 10, like the Pythagorean tetrad. 4 bass notes encompassing 3 octaves of active, passive, and neutral material aspects, with addition of 1 source appearing as 2, again, we have the tetrad. 3 octaves emerge as 3 more active, passive, and neutral aspects at an energetic level, making 9 octaves in total, of which the last note is the 10th do. I mean, really, this is octaves of harmonic resonance in a nutshell. So harmonic resonance in relation to our DNA. Why is this important? Because our DNA is like an antenna that is picking up everything and absorbing everything. And so the 3 main layers, the octaves of harmonic resonance, frequency, that describe existence are essence, blueprint, and manifest reality. These 3 octaves emerge as 3 more active, passive, and neutral aspects at the energetic level that reflect micro-macro relationships of each of the 3 main layers, making 9 octaves in total. And we all know that 7 times 9 equals 63. The last note, the 10th, is the 64th note, resembling 64 possible ways in which the ACGT coding units of our DNA can combine as triple RNA codons that link to existing triple units housed in the original DNA molecule. Therefore, DNA is in reality made up from precisely 64 basic biochemical hexagrams. We've already used the word hexagrams. 6. This is reflected in the I Ching, the 3,000 plus year old Chinese book of changes, which of course, when we make, say, a prediction from the book of changes, it is grabbing all that information and giving you the answer now. What is the answer now? Factor 9 grid. The tuning method required to reveal the geometric shapes is based on a mathematical grid rather than mathematical ratios, known as the factor 9 grid. Because the number 9 is found not only as the sum of every note on the grid, but also as the number required to move up and down the scale. Here on this grid we find all of our geometric numbers, but modern tuning does not reveal one correlation to geometric numbers. That's weird. So for example, the letter A, the sound A, can be seen at 216 Hertz, 432, 864, 1728, 3456, etc., etc., etc. What we have to do is add or subtract the number 9 to reveal all the other tones in that octave. So when we tune to 432 and move up and down in multiples of 9, a 14-tone matrix of synchronicity, this is another keyword, appears. All of the numbers relevant to every primary shape, i.e. the triangle is 180 degrees, square is 360 degrees, pentagon is 540 degrees. Anyhow, I would like to go give you more information about that, but we have to move on. So experimenting with the Fibonacci sequence. It's written there, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, etc. Since the single-digit vibrations cannot be heard by the human ear, these lower frequencies, we cannot apply these numbers directly to frequencies. So to determine how the Fibonacci sequence may work in this respect, we substitute number 1 with our first number on the factor grid, 180. So here we see 180 triangle, 360 circle, square. These are the number of degrees in that shape. 540 pentagon, perfect harmonic fifth of the first tone. 900 septagon, major third required to build a perfect major chord. 1440 is a double tetrahedron. We've already talked about that inside the tetrad, the Pythagorean tetrad, the Merkaba. Another octave of the first tone. So this is not an arbitrary sequence, but comes out as perfectly harmonious when played. So assigning a sonic frequency to the first square of 144, it produces a numerically perfect major chord and a mathematical constant, the golden ratio of roughly 1.618. So here we have 1.61 times 1.61, 2.592, 25,920 years is the approximate number of years for a precession of equinox. hope you may know what the precession of equinox is. I put a little example on the right there, the Earth being not straight up north-south, but on an angle. So it's one full turn of the universe around itself. Perfect harmony is built into the structure of the universe and what we see around us, and of course, is perfectly built into us too. So here we go. Now we're coming on to my work. So from 2005 to 2016, I was guided quite again, I could tell the stories till the cows come home, as we say in England, how I got involved in making these pictures. But my Lama sent me on a journey. I took photographs and blah, blah, blah. I had a pile of printed out photographs. I wanted to do something with them, so I played around. I made my first design. Then I wanted to do an exhibition, so I made a second design, and then I did an exhibition with the first two pictures. Then, because I was kind of in the habit of doing this and looking around and seeing the world like this, I made 3, 4, 5, and 6 as well. And by 2016, I had 5 pictures. We're not talking about little icons like this. This picture, the pure vision transformed into organized confusion, is longer than this screen. From here to where the board is over there. The 2 keys, 1 lock is as large as this wall. More than 100 photos are sitting in each of these pictures. The mirror of space, the rainbow symphony, the key of life. Rainbow symphony, union of sound and light, key of life. This is showing the 10 stages of manifestation. Again, much more in that, but I'll move on. So here we come on to Bosnia. So when I got to Sarajevo for the first time, and Sam had invited me down there to make the movie, I knew, like I said in the beginning, that I would need to find a picture. I would need to encapsulate all the information that I could find from the Vizija Valley into a picture. And in the period of 2 trips, during the period of 2 trips to Bosnia, I made the crystal of time. So here's a list of some of the subjects which are included in the 2 following pictures, the crystal of time and the diamond lens. I'll come on to the diamond lens doorway to infinity in a minute. Pythagorean tetrad, octaves of harmonic resonance, relative and absolute nature of consciousness, awareness, and perception. The Naga beings, mystical elemental creatures of nature and their relation to the number 9. Fractality, Caduceus, electromagnetism, Hertzian waves, and scalar waves. Golden ratio, phi angles, Fibonacci sequences, pi. Standing waves, pyramid energy, tachyon energy, Kybalion, Hermetica, orgone energy. Vortices of energy transfer between dimensions, DNA, 2D and 3D solids, and their relation to Hertzian vibrations in factor 9 grid. The time and the time pulse. Crystals as solid rocks, morphogenetic crystalline field, mind quasi-crystals, E8. You may say, what? This is like going like all these subjects in one. But it happened like that because the Bosnian pyramids are containing a lot of information, and they've got a lot of things that are very integral to these kind of subjects. So here we go. The 4 does are the 4 base notes of the Pythagorean tetrad, as I've already mentioned. And this is the base of the crystal of time. The 4 base notes are written into the crystal of time, the macro of the micro. So crystal of time is offering an explanation of how every possible vibrational state throughout the multidimensional universe occurs. So the musical scale has a toroidal shape, whereby the sounds are emerging and dissolving out of one keynote, constantly rotating fractals, remaining alive in self-referred energy using the phi ratio angle, golden ratio. So an octave of harmonic resonance is actually a toroidal field in a multidimension, which is the basis of all movements and appearing forms that exist in the multiverse. Multiverse. Oops, now we've gone beyond one universe and we're talking about more universes than one, but I'm not going to go into that. By continuing to add and subtract figures of 8 together, thus parts of this octave of harmonic resonance emerge, see the diagram on the right, and snake its way into an infinite knot. The twist of a spiral, coiled up energy, holds all potential, where the ninth aspect is both the whole and the zero. I promise you're going to see a movie in a minute. I'm just giving you some background so that you understand when you see the movie that there's much more in it than just a pretty picture. So the crystal of time is a time pulse. Actually, I was kind of forced to look at the time pulse because I was invited by the great master, Dr. Ibrahim Karim, who is the founder of biogeometry, to talk at his conference in Victoria in 2019 about my picture, The Crystal of Time. So I started looking at the time pulse because he asked me, specifically focus on time, please. So the movement of perception out of awareness, where it transitions from being in a state of scalar to transverse waves, is the dynamic action that hits the crystalline structure, causing it to vibrate and hence exist. Awareness, like a scalar longitudinal wave, is able to pulse itself everywhere simultaneously without ever straying from its original position. So the whole of the crystal of time, this is a basic outline of the crystal of time. It's not really like that, it's like two sides of the center. The whole of the crystal of time is constituting its base, and electromagnetic lines caused by its inherent crystalline structure is an archetypal pulsation of time, an emanation of pure awareness, emerging from the golden circle in the center. I'll show you a picture of crystal of time again in a minute, as a physical entity which operates on its own power supply. Hello? Its own power supply doesn't like plug into the electric source. Where's that come from? Each pulse contains a massive division of its original harmonic, again and again, whereby it replicates itself into an entire state of being. So a time pulse is orchestrated, i.e. it emerges according to its natural harmonic, by the state of our perception or point of view, how we are interpreting through our senses what we see in the relative world around us. So the point of view, the shape of reality that we envisage, the shape of reality that we envisage. And because perception is not separate from awareness, it can also dissolve into no time as awareness. So I think I'm going to, here we go. I'm probably going to start showing you the movie at this point. There are some more slides because I want to show you the time sequences that I embedded into the movie, but I'm going to let you see the movie first. So here I'm just scratching the surface of the meaning embedded into the crystal of time. But when I attempted to lay out the movie in accordance with the shapes and symbols embedded within the crystal of time, I just couldn't do it, no matter how hard I tried. So I had the crystal of time, I got all the information, but I couldn't make a movie. Sam is like, this is the third time I'm coming to Bosnia, he's like, Suzan, where's the movie? And I'm like, Sam, it's not ready yet. He's like, how long do you need to make a movie? And I'm like, it will be ready when it's ready. Anyhow, Sam and I got an agreement. So because another photo collage art picture needed to emerge first. The diamond lens doorway to infinity. And this was my lockdown project. 7,000 circles are inside this picture. Now, you may think, oh, you can just make this like a computer graphic, blah, blah, blah. This is not a computer graphic. This is made on plyboard surface, covered with cloth. I mean, we're talking about using glue and putting a cloth over a surface. And then cardboard. All these shapes, all these little shapes are cardboard cut out by hand. And with love. Each one. And then the photographs that are stuck on the top, all of these little dots. The smallest ones I could cheat, I could make with a hole puncher. That was the right size. But the next ones up, I had to cut each one by one by one by one by one. Great way to pass the lockdown. This was the thing. Diamond lens doorway to infinity. This is the picture that is inside the core and the heart of the crystal of time. Like that. So here we see the golden circle, and here we can imagine that magnified and amplified, it is the diamond lens doorway to infinity. promised you to move on to the movie, but I see that there are a few more slides before we can do so. So the crystals in the crystal of time and how they relate to the diamond length story to infinity. So we see 8 by 8, 64 levels of octaves. We see here that the central space has 12 crystals, dodecahedron shape of DNA set around it that can be expanded into a sliding scale and has a wormhole through its center. Where 3 principal layers, and again we get back to where we started, the essential blueprint of manifest reality govern how they appear. So this diamond length doorway to infinity emerges. So I told you already, while I was developing another project based on the meaning of the 5 elements and their complementary 5 mental aspects, male, female, I could see how this related to the pattern I was developing, and 5 times 12 equals 60. I started looking at emanating the 5 elements in golden ratio patterns and interrelating them with the 5 mental aspects. This is a very core and key aspect in the highest tantric yogas of Tibetan Buddhism. At the center of the mandala, we see the 5 deities, the 5 male and female deities who are in union with each other. Everybody thinks that Tantra is something to do with sex. It's to do with union. So attributed to each aspect, symbolically used by the highest yogic tantras of Tibetan Buddhism, whereby the common denominator would be space as the first element that holds each of the other 4 elements within it. Since space and with it time appear when perception breaks the inherent symmetry of awareness, not its inherent union with it, because that's always there, but by self-referring it creates a state of duality. Space seemed like the apt pivot of time. So here we see the elements, and here we see the mental aspects. Again, we have 9 layers of harmonic resonance, and remember the importance of number 9. And perfect self-reference can only take place through a phi angle. It's the only way you can get self-reference is through a perfect phi angle. So the 9 vibrations, this picture hasn't come up so well on the slide, but there are 9 vibrations of 5 colors in the diamond lens doorway to infinity. This actually looks very complicated, but it's very simple. I took this template and I moved it around 12 positions of the clock. Boom, 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 boom. And that's where you get all these circles appearing. So the size of the circles, each is a doorway and infinite emanation. 9 layers, dimensions of circles within one circle, and then 4 layers of photos on top expanded to 13. Again, we see we've got our 9, we've got our 13 dimensional layers. This one large circle is also one of 12 circles in a larger circle, the 13th, ad infinitum. So you see this whole picture here, you can make it, it's inside the smallest circle and it's inside the largest circle. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So the diameter of the circle is pi, times pi is the length of its circumference, and I chose the sizes of the diameters of the circles in increments of golden ratio, i.e. 1.618 times the preceding one. The smallest circle, the photo in the picture which sits on the smallest circle, starts at 0.5 centimeters, next 0.85, then the following 1.4. You're going to see later why this matters, because I am embedding these time sequences into the movie. You're not going to see that on the surface, but the rhythm and the timing of how I have made the visuals of the music and the narration is exactly according to phi and pi and all these things I'm talking about here. So charge. The charge wave starts as a transverse wave on the lip of the cone and ends as a longitudinal wave as its tip. So again, we see this translation of vorticity, a phase shift into the next dimension, exploding as a dodecahedron in the center. As these waves of charge proceed down the golden ratio pent-fied vortex where phase conjugation occurs, a very precise translation of vorticity occurs. The longitudinal wave is literally the path out, non-destructive charge compression through the speed of light. The Planck dimension, length and time, is specifically the threshold at which this translation of vorticity, the doorway through the speed of light into the longitudinal grid is possible, i.e. where it enters a Grossetto dimension. And this information is written into crystal of time, with the diamond lens doorway to infinity at its center. So this is the process of dissolving our molecular cellular structure from a state of physicality through using our mental capacity to return to our light source. What the masters call enlightenment. My aim was now to embed the shapes and meanings of crystal of time and diamond lens doorway to infinity into the timeline of the movie, following the sequence of shapes in crystal of time, which I now did in 3 sections. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I want to show you the movie, and then I'm going to show you the details of how I embedded the rhythm deeply into the movie. But first, the movie.
Okay, thank you.
Can you please help me get the movie? Just get them. Okay, we're going to start.
With something that is such a precious gift, and over time, as humans, we have forgotten that.
We are the part of all. And this is quite different level of responsibility for anything we do.
Finally, consciousness is ready to shift.
Process. This is about awakening your sensory perceptions and your ability to connect beyond.
Pyramid of the Thought.
This is the north side.
And the second river is to our left.
Et la deuxième rivière, c'est à gauche. La rivière Bosna,
Which is the largest Bosnian river.
qui est la rivière la plus large de la Bosnie.
there are gold mines. Gold, very important currency.
We have 7 levels of passageways inside the pyramid at different depths. They are like a spiral.
Pyramid is strong energy machine.
See the turbine.
Welcome to Bosnia, where you can take a part. This is the place from where we're coming back home already changed.
Civilization have been living here in these areas, also in the northeast and in the south. There have been 6 tribes of them. Here before the Celts, before the Slavs, before the Ottomans, they lived in a harmony with the nature. Ottomans, when they came, they've been killing the Illyrs, and their saying is that they killed them because they've been dragon people, and they have here in the middle some kind of crystal. And then, through the third eye, those snakes brought the conscience to the people here, to those Illyrs. Illyr actually means translated snake, and they said if they manage to get balanced between dark and light or whatever, good and evil, then they would transform into a dragon.
Our concretes in 21st century are in the range from 10 megapascals to 60 megapascals. This concrete here, 73 megapascals. Some of them are reaching 134 megapascals.
The soil of the pyramid is 12,000 years old.
Learning to live in synergy with our planet.
It's you, Tibet. You remind me, Alexandra David Neal, she married Tibet Alana too, as you did, and made a beautiful journey all over Tibet. Les sorcières et les magiciens de Tibet. Čarobnjaci i magovi Tibeta. To je bila živjela je 104 godine, Aleksandra David Neal, i mislim potpuno ima isti put kao naša Suzan pročitajte knjigu Božanstvena, njeno putovanje po Tibetu. Thank you so much. Next time you present us the Tibetan book of it.
Yes, of course. And if you have a few more moments of patience, I will just flick through the last slides to show you the divisions of time, how the Fibonacci sequences were embedded within the embedded. Yes. I know it was very long, 54 minutes, but I'm just about to explain. It had to be 54 minutes because 54 minutes is one heartbeat of Mother Earth. We've got far too many slides to go, but what I will do is really go fast. So now I'm going to take you inside my mind and how I actually made this movie. You can see the crystal of time picture. I then divided it into 12 elements in Fibonacci golden ratio shapes as a complete flow, adding in the other aspects small crystals, 64 grid diamond lens doorway to infinity, large crystals. So the layout for the visuals came like this: physical, mental, spiritual, with 9 sections, starting with the big crystal at the top of the crystal of time. 13 sections, the mental, spiritual, 9 sections. You see, I've now given symbols to each of the items shown inside the crystal of time. Items meaning each of the symbols that are inside the picture. So the 10 symbols and what they represent in terms of the Bosnian movie. Just as an example, so the small crystals are like this diamond. Upward pointing crystal, now I'm going to make people move upwards. Downwards pointing crystal, I'm going to have people moving downwards. The air element, fire, water, so air, dragon, fire, sun, water element, moon, pyramid, earth element, temple of Mother Earth. The 64 square grids that you see on 2 sides of the crystal of time are the left side of the central circle is the Ravnikov, the right side of the central circle is Ravnikov. And the central golden circle is the diamond lens doorway to infinity, as I have explained before, which I'm now going to use Sarajevo and the center of the Pyramid Valley complex as symbols of that. And the large crystals capping each end of the crystal of time is the love pyramid, other visions of Bosnia, spacious, beautiful dance song, and the space element. So visuals and music using the numbers 8, 9, 5, 12, 13, or 13. So here we have 1 octave of tones, so we're going to use, this is how I'm going to divide the movie now. A small crystal, air, fire, like this. So the small crystal is related to upward movement or downward movement. The air is related to the dragon pyramid, the fire, etc., etc., etc. All of these points have a symbolic representation in the Bosnian field. Timing of the visions. So we've got 9 vibrations from the 12 main circles in the diamond lens doorway to infinity. 9 times 12, 108. 108 is a spiritual number, and also on the factor 9 grid. We have the 54 minutes, 31 sections, which, so 54 divided by 31 becomes 1.74 minutes per section. I mean, this may be going into too much detail. I just want you to understand, basically, how I really made each part of the movie. It's not just like the pictures you see and moving from here to there. It's precise, absolutely precise. The first section, physical, solid. 9 sections in golden ratio, ascending and descending vibrations of timing. Mental, liquid, 13 sections in linear timing, all are equal, 1 minute 45 seconds per section. The third, spiritual, gaseous, 9 layers in golden ratio, ascending and descending vibrations of timing. So here's just an extract from Valery Uvarov's Pyramid of the Gods, where he describes how 54 minutes is a heartbeat of Mother Earth. I don't know if you want me to read this or not, but in a nutshell, that's the equation. And this was actually an equation that was discovered by some Japanese scientists who did some experiments in various places on the planet Earth. So here we go, the timing for sections 1 and 3 of the visuals, the first part and the last part. So we start with exactly, this is how I worked it out, dividing this amount of time, 15.688 minutes, into Fibonacci sequence. First section 3, 1.85, 1.15, 0.7, exactly. So you can see a progression of this coming out like this, in timing. The timing for the section 2 of the visuals is equal, 1.74 minutes per section. So what you've got is something looking like this. It comes in, it comes out, it's straight, it goes back in, it comes out, like this. But then, okay, that's my plan. Just to show you, I'm very tactile person, pencil and eraser and rulers and not very good on the computer. So then for the music, I conceived of a layout of 2 Fibonacci spirals, golden ratio proportion containing the 5 elements and the mental attributes, which we've already been through. So as you can see here, we've got a spiral coming in, anti-clockwise, and we've got a spiral coming out, which is clockwise. I'm going very quickly here because I do realize we've gone way over time. So here's the layout for the music. Again, we've got 13 aspects. So number 1 is the subtle round mind. At the end, you see 13, we've got the physical, solid, manifest reality. So what we're doing is moving between the mental aspects and the male mental aspects and the female elemental aspects, joining them in one Fibonacci dance together. So here we go, the timing of the music was like this. There are 13 aspects, but as the point in the center occurs once on the vertical line and once on the horizontal line, and as both needed to be considered, there are actually 14 aspects in total, like on the factor 9 rate. So here you can see that I've expanded that to 14 aspects. So in this case, it becomes a 14-tone matrix of synchronicity tuning to the 422 Hertzian range of the factor 9 grid, and therefore it's very suitable when corresponding to the music for the movie. So this is how I worked out the spacing and timing of each of the junctions of when the music would change in the movie. So here we go again, exact timing of the movie. The vertical lines on the grid that would form the main outline for the music. So again, we can see the sequence, it comes in and it comes out again. Fibonacci. Now to work out the timing for the horizontal lines, I need to work out some more golden ratios. Here we go. So to assimilate the horizontal lines into the music timeline, what I do is I put Fibonacci inside Fibonacci. So inside the drumming section of 10 minutes and 20 sections, after precise 6 minutes and 22 seconds, and I have kept like boom, 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 like I have been kind of completely obsessed with keeping to the seconds, a period of 2 minutes and 26 seconds is allocated for another aspect. And then it returns back to the drumming again, you see, and etc. So inside the gong section starts that amount, then you've got a section inside, then you've got another section after that. So what you've got in the end is Fibonacci inside Fibonacci inside Fibonacci inside Fibonacci. And these are the horizontal lines on the grid and the timings. So that's my music layout. So you can sort of see that, I start with one section and then put what's inside. So the synopsis of the Bosnian movie layout using the crystal of time and the diamond lens doorway to infinity is this. We have the visuals, the timing of the visuals, the music, the timing of the music, and the narration, which correspond to a physical aspect, correspond to a mental aspect, and correspond to a spiritual aspect. And through these 3 levels of the movie, I lead the viewer up the scales of harmonic resonance from physical to mental to spiritual planes, using all the tools of movie making, as I explained in the beginning, the visuals, light, music, sound, narration, perception, and timing, frequency. Enter Tunnel Vision, Eye of Eternity. Now, strictly speaking, my movie was ready to show in 2020, but the world was locked down, couldn't get here. 2021 likewise. So it came to 2022, and actually what happened was now I had started receiving many intuitive callings to visit Peru and Bolivia. So I started researching the possibility of making a picture with the symbols of all the chakras one on top of the other. How does this relate to the Bosnia movie? But when I started actually laying it out in 2022, I dropped everything I had researched, and it appeared as it wanted to, step by step. It is a vortex. It is the container of the crystal of time. So you see here, you have the four columns of a pyramid, and you put the crystal of time containing the diamond lens inside this vortex. And what you have is the purification of the senses, the elements, the mental aggregates into their transcendent qualities. Here, the vortex has appeared. Before we just had one aspect of it, now we have the other aspect. So what happened here? Like dropping a stone into a pond and watching it ripple out, I now drop an orb into the center of the movie and ripple it out in increments of the cube root of pi, according to how the concentric circles are laid out in Tunnel Vision, Eye of Eternity, photo collage art picture. You will have heard the Om underpinning the movie in 25 places, 12 on one side of the center and 12. And no. Yeah. This is okay. Never mind. I'll just explain briefly. This is Les Brown. He made this movie in the 1970s. He's with us no longer. Brilliant video, The Physics of Crystals, in which he describes how when you drop a stone into a pond, it will ripple. In fact, any waveform will ripple at the cube root of pi, which is why I embed cube root of pi as the concentric circles in my picture, the Tunnel Vision Eye of Eternity. We're going to have to get back to the slides. This is a very, very key point. Oh yeah, that's it. So, here is the timeline of Tunnel Vision, Eye of Eternity. How do I fit that on page? I want to make it full. There we go. This is, so in 2020, using the crystal of time and the diamond lens doorway to infinity, I created this relative field, which you see the green line and the red line. The green line is the visuals and the red line is the music. I thought it was finished, but not quite, because this dark blue line, the concentric circles rippling out of the cube root of pi in the Tunnel Vision, Eye of Eternity, provides the, this is going to sound like a bit of a paradox, the absolute framework in which I embedded this relative timing in order to express this meaning, and more importantly, open the vortex. Enter Jose Arguelles. After I made all these pictures, I discovered Jose Arguelles just a couple of months ago. I don't know why it took me so long to discover him and his work on the Mayan calendar, but what I discovered is that actually I was kind of in tune with what he was talking about. So we have this Mayan calendar between 6th and 13th of August 3113 BC and 21st of December 2012. And in the, this is just a tiny sliver of what I've understood from his work. I know more of you are experts on this. So in Mayan chronology, these two dates are both written as the 13.0.0.0.0, and in between the 13 cycles of slightly less than 400 years each called Baktun. And although the Mayans are historically labeled as Neolithic and Aboriginal, their mathematical system is of exquisite brilliance. So from a comprehensive galactic viewpoint, two Mayan terms, Hunapku and Kusan Sum. Why am I bothering to write this down? Coming on to that in a minute. Hunapku, one giver of movement and measurement, is the principle of life beyond the sun and the name of the galactic core. Not only a name, but as a description of purpose and activity as well. Movement corresponds to energy, the principle of life and pervading consciousness, immanent in all phenomena. Measure refers to the principle of rhythm, periodicity, and form, accounting for the different manifestations which energy assumes through its different transformations. Kusansum literally means road to the sky, leading to the umbilical cord of the universe, and defines, we're talking about this universal harmonics, and defines the invisible galactic life threads, or fibers, which connect the individual to the planet and through the sun to the galactic core. The fibers, or Kusansum, define a resonant pathway, like a walkie-talkie, providing a continuing channel of communication, or cosmic lifeline. Through Kusansum, each of us has a connection that extends from the solar plexus, through the reflective membrane of the planetary field onto the sun and ultimately the galactic core. This resonant pathway can be understood as a series of vibratory or resonant lenses. On one end, the galactic core, Hunapku, and on the other end, the individual human being. So the human being has three resonant lenses on an individual level: the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, or neocortex, and a higher mind that links us to the larger planetary body. So through aligning these three lenses, a fourth comes into focus. That corresponds to the solar mind, the consciousness of the sun and the solar system. A fifth is produced by the sun itself. Finally, there are two lenses between the sun and the galactic core itself. One for focusing galactic information from one star system to another, and the one closest to Hunapku is imprinted with common galactic information for the harmonic matrix. So in this way, information passing through the Kusansum, the galactic fibers, is articulated, and depending on which of the 8 lenses is brought into focus, different levels or stages of being and knowledge may be emphasized. Through the principle of harmonic resonance, information transformation is virtually instantaneous. How? Using 13 numbers and 20 symbols, creating a matrix of 13 times 20 units, also known as the sacred calendar or the soul kingdom. The 13 numbers each occupying the possibility of 20 positional places for a total of 260 permutations that are written in a table called book. Like letters of our alphabet, these numbers are also symbols, condensations of overtones, and levels of meaning, and each a resonant field unto itself. Plus, there are 4 rotating directional positions. I'm writing these things down because I'm coming onto a point. So, harmonic calibrations that represent time in our reality correspond to measurements of a galactic beam or synchronization beam, like a beam from a lighthouse. This beam emanates out of the galactic core. This beam is 5,200 tons in diameter, approximately 5,125 Earth years in diameter, corresponding to 3,113 BC to 2012 AD, during which the process of transferring the information from the galactic core to Earth and the upgrading of consciousness of its inhabitants in order to ready them for the entry into the galactic community now. So, quite by chance, in my double vision eye of eternity vortex, we have 13 concentric circles, we have 20 steps leading from circumference to center, which bridge the gap between edge and center, and 4 directions, which are corresponding to the Mayan points that are elucidated in the Mayan harmonic factor. I'm missing one slide here that I thought I'd put in, because we come back to the beginning when we say the gate has been closed. We will have to wait, defend ourselves, and conquer until the cosmic gate is opened again. And the time is now. Sorry I ran through those last visuals, but I'm aware that you have stayed longer than you should.
All the much you like. Beautiful. Šta smo vidjeli? Danas smo vidjeli kako umetnost direktno se približava nauci i spiritualnosti. Jer ovo, what you use is generic mathematics actually to influence people in the time sector of their biological existence.
Exactly. You got it.
You
got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm not a mathematician, and I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a scientist, and I'm not any of these things. But through creating this time sequence, through creating the pictures, because the pictures gave me the information in order to create the time sequences, and how did I get I got the pictures through being in Bosnia, through hearing what is pertinent to Bosnia, you know, Fibonacci spirals and all these things.
Yes, which is the basis of everything. Because infinity must intrinsically differentiate itself only in one way, and it is divine proportion or golden section. Why? Because it is continuous proportion. Otherwise, would be whole in infinity, which is impossible.
This is why I had to put the Fibonacci spirals inside the Fibonacci spirals.
Fibonacci comes from there. Beautiful. That was really fantastic. Hvala vam na strpljenju i što ste došli. Sad ako ima nekih pitanja, evo izvolite. A počinjemo, dakle, prve subote u oktobru počinjemo seminar, pa onda svake subote će biti. I da vam kažem da uskoro pravimo fondaciju u istočnoj Srbiji. Imamo donaciju 30 hektara zemlje, ne krijemo ništa, nego otvoreno sve govorimo. I tu će biti jedan internacionalni savjet, znači Kinezi, Rusi, Indusi, Amerikanci, Englezi, Nemci, Makedonci, kogod bude, naravno i Semir je dobrodošao. Semir je uradio neverovatan pionirski poduhvat. On je zapravo napravio New Tibet in Bosnia, in a way. To je nešto što je, mislim, neverovatno. I uradio je to praktično sam, dobro, ima podršku, naravno, Blagoslava Božgo, ali Boga mi imao je i fizičke snage. On je u stanju da ide satima po brdima, ta piramida je visoka oko 700 metara, treba to sve obići, mislim ova sunca. I mislim da, u stvari, mi počinjemo sada jednu potpuno novu eru Balkana i uključivanje u svetsku civilizaciju koja je u suštini nastava Tesline ideje, susreta, nauke i spiritualnosti. To je ono što je u stvari susret i vekanandika. I evo, danas smo imali također jedan divine dobrinas božanski. Fantastic. Thank you very much. If there are some questions, please answer. If everything is clear, that is beautiful.
I know it's a lot to absorb. It's not something that it's amazing.
Ovo će biti naravno, evo, kao što ste vidjeli, sve je snimljeno i možemo i da titlujemo, pa će moći da se prati. We are putting it on the internet with subtitles in our language.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great. Wonderful.
So completely understandable for everybody and also accessible.
Wonderful.
Wider public.
Yeah, I'm sorry it was all in English. I don't have any other option. And
Džons, thank you for everything.
if we had translated it, line by by line, we don't